Somebody who might be looking at themselves saying, I don't like what I look like. Okay, no problem. That's fine. You've recognized that. Don't dwell on it. Let's create a plan for you where you can stick with a process that's going to move you towards the goal. Take the emotions out of it. The worst you're going to look is that moment you say, I'm going to make some changes. Then you start making changes and you're going to look better and better. Take the whole dysmorphia out of the picture. Just accept you for who you are and the fact that you're embracing a process, and just run with that process.
Everybody, welcome to the show. I want to thank Tom Kiatipis, Tom Kiat, for being back on the show. This is his third time. It's always an honor to have you on board. I learn a lot from you, as do all the people that watch the show. So thank you so much for being on board today.
Always a pleasure, man. Always.
Thank you. I was watching, so I'll put in the show notes. You had a YouTube channel, then your son took it over, and now you've so you've got your show back up, and I was watching a lot of new things. There was one just a couple of days ago that you put up about the 3 things that someone needs to start doing basically right now to improve their body. And I loved it. Of course, I'll put it in the show notes, but please, the floor is yours. Give up.
Okay. I put out so many. I've got 60 waiting in the bank ready to put out there. So nice. Honestly, I don't know which one I put out. Tell me the 3 things.
Oh gosh,
now I have to
look at my phone. So now you were talking about lifting weights, and for people, men our age, as far as things that they should start doing now to to improve their life. And one was lifting weights, the other was basically start reading, and then the other one was basically take up some sort of hobby, be it martial arts or just something that gets you active.
Okay. Yeah.
So what, I guess my question to you is, where would someone begin that? I mean, look, for you and me, we're not sedentary, but now you got some guy that is going to be literally getting up off the couch and putting the Doritos away. What's the first step he should do to get himself in the right direction?
Okay. So the first step is awareness. This is what I realized from my former career, as well as my side hustle, which was my fitness career, which I put a lot of time in. I became a slave to the paycheck. I became a slave to money, and I lived to work. That's all I did. Work. When I finished work, I went to work in my fitness business. And that's when you start looking for escape as well, whether it be booze, food, junk food, alcohol, drugs, porn, whatever it might be. So the first thing is being aware of, what's my situation right now, right? Do I want to continue living like this, where I can't wait till it's Friday, I can't wait till Saturday, I can't wait till I have my weekend, and now I'm dreading Monday because it's Sunday night and I've got some anxiety. A lot of people are in that boat. So the first step is awareness and saying, okay, I recognize my situation. Step 2 is I want to make some changes. There's got to be something that you look forward to in spite of the chaos of something called work.
Right.
And that's where you can say this. Most people live very mundane lives. They go to work, they come home, they eat, they chat with the family a little bit, they go to bed, and they repeat the process day in, day out, day in, day out.
Right.
That's usually the case. But if you could say, hey, where could I be in 1 year if I took little steps daily? Chris, check this out. Just think about it.
Right.
A man is, let's say, 220 pounds.
Sure.
Let's say he's 20, 30, 40 pounds overweight.
Mm-hmm.
All he's got to do is he's got to burn 3,500 calories weekly. Right. Check this out. You go for a walk, you lift some weights, you exercise, get on a recumbent bike, whatever it might be. All you've got to do is burn 250 calories for the day. That's it. Part 2, you've got to cut back on your food just ever so slightly, 250 calories daily. Nothing that you're not going to miss. Cut back a little bit on the fats, a little bit on the carbs. You got your 250 plus 250, 500 calories times 7 days. That's 1 pound lost. No big deal.
Right.
Imagine doing this over 50 weeks. Okay. So the plan now is it's such a simple, attainable goal that in 50 weeks, you've gone from 220 down to 170 and you're shredded. And all you did was these little daily steps. You went for a walk. You lifted weights for 10, 15 minutes. You watched your food a little bit. 10 weeks down the road, you look good. 20 weeks down the road, you look better. 30 weeks down the road, you really like how you look. And then 40 weeks in, you're like, I can achieve my best ever. And then in 50 weeks, you are your best ever. And you've never looked back with minor changes. So somebody watching this, get excited about that. It's tiny steps. You don't need to do anything crazy. Chris, what are your thoughts on that?
You couldn't be more spot on. So to go back just a second. So I went on my my bulking phase, and I've learned my lesson finally that, men. So I'm 48. I'll be 49 in October. Yes, in order to put on muscle, I have to up the calorie content and stuff like that. But what I knew, but I just didn't practice, was that I didn't have to splurge on the calories. Just because I was in a bulking phase didn't give me license to eat everything under the sun. And even though I was eating healthy foods, I was eating too much healthy food. I mean, look, pork rinds aren't necessarily healthy, but as far as like they weren't like high in carbs and all of that stuff. But it's like, even though I was having, say, nuts, or I was eating steak or having eggs, 700 extra calories, 1,000 extra calories, 2,000 extra calories, they have to go somewhere. There, a lot of people, like in the carnivore space or the keto space, or pick your space, they sit there and tell you that calories don't matter. That's exquisite bullshit, because they have to go somewhere. So I was putting on weight. I was trying to tell myself it's okay. I'm in the bulking phase, blah, 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 blah. And then when it started time for me to start cutting, I look and I'm like, I'm almost as bad off as I was when I started, which I'm not. That was body dysmorphia talking, but it was like, okay,
right,
I got to un-F myself. And yeah, I've just started making these smaller steps. And the biggest thing for me, you mentioned booze. And I hate to admit it, but I like my nightcaps. I like having a double on the rocks of just whiskey straight. And, maybe one is different than several. And that's the thing. Most people don't. Anytime like a cop pulls someone over and says, how many beers have you had tonight? And they say I had 1 or 2. Bullshit. You can probably say I had about 8 or 9. Same goes with having a couple of whiskeys. They're like Frito-Lays. You're not going to have just one. And then next, you're munching down on other things. So yeah, it was small things are making a big difference. I'm finally seeing my abs again. And it's like, it's really weird that I'm almost like my identity has become part of how I look. And I know that's kind of silly and kind of vain, but when you look good, it's usually a sign that you're working hard and that you're healthy and things like that. I mean, you and I both, I'm not wearing my tank top, but I mean, we just having a shred of muscular definition in our 40s and 50s puts us ahead of about 90% of our population. And it's not that it's easy. It's that it's simple, but it's not always easy, but it's definitely doable all the time. It's just a matter of, having more respect for yourself than worrying about your feelings, I guess, is the best way I can say it.
Big time. Totally agree.
Yeah. So, I wanted to also talk about the whole body dysmorphia thing. Again, one of your videos talking about body dysmorphia. As naturals, it's very difficult for us to not even just going into the gym without any necessarily competitors. There's so many people in the gym that are running gear and they're for no fucking reason other than to fill out their shirt better. What has kept you on the path to not even the whole, I know we've already talked about why you don't use gear or anything like that, but how have you battled the whole body dysmorphia thing, being a bodybuilder, knowing that size is never going to be in our forte?
Right. I remember there's a bodybuilder by the name of Jay Cutler, former Mr. Olympia. I think he won it 4 times. Sure. He doesn't hide the fact that he takes steroids, but numerous times he said he'd look at himself and he'd say he looked drawn out, small, and sometimes he looked too puffy. He didn't look his best. And that was Jay Cutler in his prime saying that, right? I think we all have a sense of dysmorphia. I've seen myself sometimes. You sit down and you look down and you look at your belly and there's some fat hanging over your pants. It's like, shit, man, this doesn't look that good, right? And this is from a person who's pretty athletic and who's pretty lean. I say that sometimes. Other times I'm like, I look really small. And other times, man, I look like jacked as heck. This is unbelievable. And this is the same conversation I have over the course of a day. It's 3 different feelings over the course of the day. So how do you battle that? You battle that with the fact that you have a game plan. This is your game plan. This is the amount of calories you're supposed to eat. You lock in on the process. And as long as you lock in on that process, you got to accept that the process will take care of you. So for example, I need 15,000 calories over the course of the week. That's my caloric allotment. If I stay within that, no matter how I look over the course of the week, I don't worry about it. There's no stress because I know some days I'm going to look great. Some days I'm not, depending on my water intake, my salt intake, whether I'm pumped up or not, morning, evening, and you just get it off your back. And that's it. So somebody who might be looking at themselves saying, I don't like what I look like. Okay, no problem. That's fine. You've recognized that. Don't dwell on it. Let's create a plan for you where you can stick with a process that's going to move you towards the goal. Take the emotions out of it. The worst you're going to look is that moment you say, I'm going to make some changes. Then you start making changes and you're going to look better and better. Take the whole dysmorphia out of the picture. Just accept you for who you are and the fact that you're embracing a process and just run with that process.
Outstanding. You already kind of led me into something I wanted to ask you about. You said 15,000 calories for a week. Yeah. And normally you'll see people, say, okay, 2,000 calories per day. For 15,000 in a week, that's just a little bit shy, a little bit over 2,100 a day, right? So since you're saying that for a week, I'm assuming that means there's a little bit of room for fluctuation. Okay. Yeah. So walk me through that. Like, what does your week look like so other people can understand it?
All right. I used to be pretty rigid with my numbers daily. And I found that the moment you did that, you started obsessing over your numbers. Right? You don't know what situation you're going to get into. And as disciplined as I am, I realize that I'm a human being. My wife's not always going to cook the meals that I want. We're going to do something together. Sometimes I barbecue, whatever. I know this. The general rule is it's 2,000 a day, every day, but Saturday. Saturday, it's 3,000.
Okay.
Now, Chris, I used to eat 17,000, 18,000. I'm a little bit older, a little more sedentary. I don't need as much. It's the number's 15. That's what it is.
Right.
But by doing 2,000 a day and then 3,000 on Saturday, I've got a game plan. But some days it's not 2,000, it's 1,700 because I was occupied. Sometimes it's 2,200 because I couldn't resist that extra piece of whatever that my wife made.
Right.
Okay, so that's not a problem. It gives me the autonomy to switch gears ever so slightly over the course of the week. So it's like 2,000 one day, 1,900 the next day, 1,950, 2,150. And then on Friday, I actually tally it up and see what I've got left for Saturday. I'm like, shoot, I've got 3,600 left for Saturday. All right, party time.
Right.
It allows me not to obsess so much over the numbers. That's why I do a weekly total. And it gives me a reward if I know that, let's say Saturday, I've got some kind of fun engagement that, hey, the boys are getting together. I need that leeway.
Okay. Are there certain macros you make sure you hit on every day, though? Like protein wise or
right. The protein total, I've gone with a range. So on average, I'm looking at 185 to about 195.
Okay.
On average. So sometimes it's 200. Sometimes I'll have a steak, which lowers the number because of the fat content, and it might be 170. But overall, it usually averages out to be 185, 190. Definitely protein for me, I've got to hit my totals. The second most important number is the calories. I've got to lock in 15,000 or whatever, 2,130 per day.
Sure.
And then the third one, carbs and fat can be interchanged. As long as it's unprocessed, good, healthy stuff, it really doesn't matter.
Okay. Outstanding. That great information. Thank you very much.
No problem.
Yesterday, so my parents came in from out of town. They're living in Myrtle Beach, headed to Chicago, and I guess all roads lead to Cleveland, Ohio, because they came in and we ate. And we were at Outback Steakhouse, and they had Brussels sprouts. I love Brussels sprouts. Their Brussels sprouts said it was going to be a lot more calories than what I still had left for the day. And I was like, son of a bitch, I really want those Brussels sprouts. And I thought to myself, I'll just eat much less today. And that's all I've had is today is chicken and egg whites all day. So I know I'm going to be just fine. But that's basically advice free advice from Tom Kiat, guys. But don't always focus on every single day. Just take it over the span of a week. But I want to caution folks, because I know me and I know a lot of people like me, they will take that kind of information and let themselves get lazy too many days out of the week. This isn't a license to get lazy 3 out of the 7 days out of the week. This is giving you license to enjoy a day, maybe a day and a half tops. Don't go overboard, that you're just, progress is progress, but if you can make your progress consistent and good every week, you're going to be much better off than, oh, well, I had a really bad 3 weeks. Well, yeah, those bad 3 weeks just set you back 4 months. Do you know what I mean? So that's just great advice. Thank you.
Chris, I do want to share this though. People will look at guys like yourself, guys like me, and they'll say, well, it's easy for him. He doesn't understand, right? I've been in a situation where I was severely calorically deprived competing, and where you're thinking about food all the time. You're dreaming of food. Mm-hmm. You got the hunger pangs. So I've been there. And the second thing is, we're human. I don't know how many times I've gone into the kitchen and I'm just looking around. You open up the cupboard, you see some peanut butter. The jar's almost empty. Like, I could eat an extra 2 tablespoons of this. Oh, look at that. Yes. There's some M&Ms lying around. I do it all the time. Yeah. All the time. And it's so easy for me to just say, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to have a little bit. And I think you got to lock down. So if you're watching this, understand it comes down to nothing tastes as good as feeling good does, and overcoming that weakness and that temptation. Because the next morning you're like, you know what? I feel good. Yes. I didn't cave. I felt really good that I didn't cave. Chris, that's me talking with years and years of experience. I'm the fitness expert and I still feel that way. So I understand everyone would probably feel that way.
Right. And, so I want to, since you just said that segues in for those who haven't ever watched this show before, definitely. All right. I don't know if you can see it. I'm sharing a picture back in 2016, and that was me right there. I definitely understand the process of wanting to eat way too much food. It's a lot easier said than done to putting the fork down, but I get it. And it's one of those things where when you can put down the fork and, take care of yourself better, like you said, nothing tastes as good as being healthy feels. As much as I would love to just devour, my biggest weakness used to be a Skippy peanut butter or Jif super chunk peanut butter, a spoon, and milk. I haven't touched peanut butter now in years, simply because I know I don't have the discipline to just have maybe a teaspoon and put it away. It is like crack to me. So I just stay away from it. It's one of those things, like you said, what do certain people turn to? Comfort foods, booze, porn, you name it. We all have our weaknesses, folks, but you recognizing that weakness and finding a way to overcome it's going to so much save you in the long run. I've had some arguments with some of my friends. We've talked because you and I have talked about the high intensity training principles, courtesy of say, Arthur Jones, Mike Mentzer, Dorian Yates, Paul Kruger, yourself, and others. And one argument I get from some of these guys is, well, you were doing the volume training back in the day. You were doing the 5 sets per exercise. You were doing, say, 15 sets per muscle part, things like that. Now, I'm still very new to the HIIT game. I know what it does for me. It gives me a great workout in a very short time. Whether or not I've necessarily seen a lot of progress, I got to wait until some of this fat falls off of me to see. But I feel stronger, so I know something's working right. But What say you to that argument that people go with, well, you did volume before, that's why you have your size?
Oh man. I thought I got some size with my biggest size increase was when I first started. And it was like 3 sets of 10. You're kind of like the first set's a warm up. The second set, it's half assed. And the third set, you went all out. That's what the York Barbell Company told you to do. And I gained all my muscle when I first started. And it was then when you hear Arnold saying you got to do 6 days a week, 2 hours a day, I saw small improvements. Like I was obsessed with getting bigger, nailed down the nutrition, everything possible. And honestly, I didn't build my muscle from that. I just didn't. You can take my word for it. You can try it out. I mean, it's you live your life. But it was when I switched to the high intensity and I realized, hold on a second. So the whole purpose of this is to break down the muscle. Like just think about it, Chris. The whole purpose of going to the gym is not to build muscle, it's to break down muscle.
Right.
The better you break it down above and beyond what you're normally capable of, the better your body is going to adapt if you let it, if you feed it, if you rest, if you recover. So you don't grow in the gym. You just don't grow in the gym. You grow outside of the gym. And when people actually say, hold on a second, okay, then their next question is, well, then how much should I stimulate it? My question is, it's not how much, how effectively can you stimulate it? So, Chris, we can go into the gym and you can do 3 sets of biceps.
Right.
We can do 3 sets of 10, and you're going to go, I had a good workout. Or I could put you through a workout where we do 1 set all out. And then right when you're about to stop, I say, okay, hold on, Chris, just keep it at its rested position for 5 seconds and let's squeeze out another rep. And you're taking like 10 seconds to lift that last rep. And I say to you, let's bring it down super slow. Squeeze, squeeze, hold, hold. Don't drop it, right? And you're resisting and you're in agony.
Right.
And I say, no, you're not done yet. I'm going to help you do 1 more. So what you've done is you're set plus 1 more plus an assisted rep. I promise you, anyone who tries that says, I don't want to do another set. My muscles are toast. That was 1 set. So again, it's efficiency and quality versus quantity.
Amen. And that's and then a lot of folks, I was, hear a lot of people talk about the reps in reserve. My thought on that is you don't know exactly what failure is until you get to failure. So if you're worrying about reps in reserve, you've already covered your reps in reserve and then some. And now I've saved, for me, I was doing the whole 2 hours of lifting weights, then an hour of cardio. So I was getting up at 3 a.m. All right. And, I can sit there and do the whole bragging, right? So I'm part of the 4 a.m. crew, or I can actually get some rest, get a 25-minute workout, 30-minute workout in tops, kick my ass. And I'm still going to do my cardio, but I've saved just crazy amounts of time. I'm sleeping well. And, I just feel that for the working man, if people want to do volume, like you said, you're going to live your life, you're going to do what you want. But if you really want to continue to be consistent enough with your workouts, sooner or later, that 3 hours a day is going to turn into, I don't have time for this shit. But if you don't have time for 25 minutes of working out, you're basically just saying that you just don't want to do it. And okay, right. Fine, but don't complain to me that you aren't where you want to be. Do you know what I mean? So,
hey, Chris, I always tell people this: if I needed to do 2 hours a day, 6 days a week, and I knew that worked, and I didn't have the time, I'm going to make the time.
Right.
Exactly. I'll even make the time at this age. So my advice to somebody is take 2 months, do it that way, try it out, record everything, see how you do, and then take 2 months afterwards and abbreviate your program, record everything, and see for yourself. Never mind my opinion, never mind Chris's opinion, never mind the studies, which go either way, high intensity, low volume, it doesn't matter. Do it for yourself. Give yourself 2 solid months with both methods and see for yourself. Like, trust yourself to follow through on that.
Exactly. There's, you hit the nail on the head. You said about the research. Google's a beautiful thing. Not always a beautiful thing, but I can find the research that confirms my bias on anything. Okay. Right. And so can anyone else. And I can do the whole thing where I can put in the words peer reviewed right afterwards. I don't know if that means that you just can't trust a damn thing, But for me, it does mean figure it out on some of the things on your own, make yourself the test subject. It's not like you're testing the effectiveness of heroin. You're testing the effectiveness of different exercise modalities. So you're not going to kill yourself. The only thing you're going to do is improve yourself one way or the other. So that's really some excellent advice on that. So I know bodybuilding in and of itself, the competitive sport and everything, sooner or later that particular stage in everyone's life fizzles out. And then I know we've talked that for you specifically, just going into these shows, knowing that folks are cheating on the tests and really taken away from those that are doing the right thing, it's kind of made it lose some of its zeal for you as far as competing. But obviously by looking at you, you're still doing it as even if it's, I don't want to say recreational, but you're doing it as part of your lifestyle. You know what I mean?
Right.
So bodybuilding as a lifestyle, what do you think it brings to the table for those who don't want to compete?
Oh man, I think one of the best indicators of longevity is your lean muscle mass count. The bottom line is you're going to lose 1% each year after the age of, some people say it's 35, some people say it's 40. You take a look at a person who hasn't taken care of themselves versus somebody who has through weight training, and they're both 70, there's a big difference.
Yes.
So from a simple longevity, number one, number two, from a simple quality of life, where you can still walk up the stairs, you can still function normally, there's a big difference. So I bodybuild because I want to be healthier. That's number one. And number two, there's a vanity where I live, and it's freaking hot here. Going to the beach and being able to take off my shirt and being proud of who I am and how I look. I don't like judging people, but the reality is people are looking at me. They're going to say something like, "Oh, you know what? All he cares about is his body, or he's on steroids or whatever." But I feel good because I've taken care of myself. It's a nice feeling. And when I look at somebody who's fit, I look at that person, I say, they have emotional control over themselves. They're disciplined. They work hard. They're intelligent with balancing their schedule. I can't not respect that. It's the disrespect I have is when somebody obsesses over it and bodybuilding is their entire life and they don't contribute to society. But if you're already doing that and you're in shape, I look at you going with the utmost respect. You're a disciplined person. You value yourself.
Yeah. It seems like nowadays there's more fit shaming, and I don't think there should be any body shaming whatsoever. People are going to live their lives, but it seems like there's a lot more fit shaming going on these days, as though I'm somehow narcissistic because I want to be in shape. And you said something that really struck a chord. So those of you who may not know, so my father had his first stroke at 48. I'm 48 years old. When I was that guy in that picture, it scared the living shit out of me that someday that was going to be me. And I don't want to tear up on this, but it's hard not to.
Yeah.
You know, going to the doctor, being put on blood pressure pills, having the high cholesterol, knowing that the things I used to do, I used to smoke a pack, 2 packs a day. I used to, drink like a fish. How my liver survived my Marine Corps days, I'll never know. And then now, and I love my father. I mean him no disrespect, but he's 72 years old and he lives in a hospital bed. And, some of it might have been genetic, but Big Macs aren't genetic. Quarter pounders aren't genetic. Okay. And lack of diet and exercise isn't genetic. And one of the, something that I learned, I think his name is, I know it's Dr. Naiman, but I think it's either Ted Naiman or Paul Naiman. Ted Naiman. He was on a podcast of my diet coach, Rob Goodwin, and the guy said something succinct and just so spot on. Everybody is a bodybuilder because a bodybuilder is nothing more than a person's reflection of his or her diet or exercise or lack thereof. You've seen it. There's people that get up on a bodybuilding stage that have no business being up on a bodybuilding stage, but technically they're a bodybuilder. So technically everyone is, because that's what your body reflects. I know it's just a facade to carry your soul and everything else, but at the end of the day, that's what it is. And speaking again about folks in their 70s or whatever, I'm in the gym on a regular basis with men and women 75, 80 years old in just phenomenal shape, still killing it. And so it's like, if there was one message I can give to anybody watching my channel on any given day of the week, is that you're never too old to start bodybuilding, but you're always too young to quit. Just keep going. Yes, maybe your best days are behind you as far as, dethroning Chris Bumstead, who I still think is one of the best bodybuilders ever.
Right. Yep.
But so what? Just do you, because I know we're all prepackaged worm food at the end of the day. When God decides to call me home, I'm going to have no choice in the matter. I just don't think I need to help him out and make it any quicker than he wants to.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm sorry about that. I started getting a little.
Oh no, man, I appreciate it. I appreciate it totally. Chris, there's a lot of people out there who I know they can make some great changes to their body. And some people are kind of like, you know what, I've given up. I've given up. You don't understand my situation. Things are tough. Yeah. Food is something that I gravitate towards. Alcohol is something I gravitate towards. And I will tell you this. And that's part of, learning new skills, taking up new hobbies. Yeah. I know this. As much as I like bodybuilding, I don't love bodybuilding. It's hard work. Right. I love food. I don't like bodybuilding. It's hard work. I do it because it's a necessity. I want to live a long time. But I got to tell you, when you come home from a hard day's work, there's got to be something on your mind that gets you excited about something. Right. So for me, it's always two things. Number one is it's the relationships I keep with my loved ones and my contribution to them. So that's namely my wife and my kids. I reach out to them every day. We try to make them smile. And it's more than me. It's my contribution to their lives. How can I help you out? What do you need? With various friends, with clients, people reaching out to me on YouTube. I always give my time because that means a lot to me. And when you give of yourself in some capacity, you feel good. Yes. Food becomes less of an issue because you feel good about what you've done. And the second thing I always recommend to somebody is get passionate about something. If you don't like your job, I like what I do. I personally like what I do. I love working, but I need some other interests out of it. So, I've taken up jujitsu. I love learning jujitsu. I'm not very good at it, but I love learning about it. I get excited. I got a class tonight. It's on my mind. I'm excited to learn. So if you're kind of like down in the dumps and saying, I'm overweight, I need some escape, you can escape to other things that are meaningful, good quality relationships, and some really good hobbies. Take up an instrument, learn martial arts, read, whatever it might be, editing, it could be anything.
Yep. Well, as you can tell, I've lost count how many guitars I have behind me. And then, of course,
yeah, I'm looking at it.
And then even though it has nothing to do with bodybuilding, Prince will always be a part of anything I do. So
that's backdrop. Wild. So how often do you play? How often do you play per week?
Oh,
what
gosh.
Do you like to do? Yeah.
So, this is a great question. I'm actually in a band here in Cleveland, Ohio. It's a cover band. We're called Third Monkey. There's a saying, if you have to fight like you're the third monkey on the ramp to Noah's Ark and it's starting to rain. That's where we got the name.
Got it.
And so I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not nearly that good as playing guitar as I'd like to be, but I'm also the singer. So basically I play the rhythm. Doug, who's a phenomenal lead player, he does the leads. And this year alone, we already have 39 shows booked out of the 52 weeks. So I'm very busy doing that. Doesn't make a lot of money. There's some nights that if I didn't play, I probably would have saved more money than I would have, earned. But it doesn't matter. I just enjoy performing. I enjoy having a good time with the crowd. And yeah, it's one of those things that I would say it keeps you young. And all the other players in the band are over 70, and because they don't care. They just want to play. They're retired. They don't mind if we drive an hour and a half for a gig. And it's like, all right, let's do it. And I'll be retired from my current job as of today's date, 52 weeks and 13 days. Okay, not that I'm counting down. I love my job, don't get me wrong, but retiring from that, collecting a pension and pursuing what I'd really love to do, and that would be training others and getting them healthy.
Yeah.
That's the Evan Carmichael had a book right here, in fact, but it's holding my microphone up, Built to Serve. Everyone has a why. Everyone has a why they're put on this earth and what drives them, what keeps them up at night, what kind of dreams they have every day. And when I fell in love with bodybuilding, I truly believe it is one of the things that I've been put on earth to do. It's help people that are very out of shape get into really good shape, whether or not they want to walk around 90% naked on a stage or not. I encourage all of them to do it, but if that's not their thing, I don't think there's anything stopping a 50-year-old man from getting in the kind of shape that's going to turn heads at the mall, just like his old 20-year-old self used to do. Every man should be physically fit.
Yeah, big time. You know what's crazy is I make enough money right now where I don't need to do the fitness thing. I make these YouTube videos, I make these TikTok videos. I put something out pretty much every day. It's 5 days out of 7. And I said to my wife, it takes my time up.
Mm-hmm.
It takes my time up answering people's questions on YouTube. But I said to my wife, I'm going to continue doing it, even though I have some more pressing things that make money, because it's my contribution. It's my passion. I need to do that. Men need me. Right. And it's not necessarily, Chris, for the expertise.
Right.
Here's what I do know. Once you lock down on the calories somebody needs on the exercise plan, you know what they need is they need a buddy that they can contact on a daily basis when they're ready to crack and things are stressed and they want to have that peanut butter sandwich. Right. And the best coach is the guy that you can relate to, who has your back, who is watching out for you. And you can call with confidence and say, Chris, like, I'm embarrassed to say this, but I feel like I need to eat something and I know I'm not supposed to. Talk me through this. That's the best coach.
Yeah.
And you're very good at that. You're very good at helping people out from that standpoint. And that's why people need people.
Well, thank you. I really want to thank you for your contribution here. You and I literally just reached out to you one day. I've been watching you for a long time. Going down the whole YouTube rabbit hole where I decided I was going to look up natural bodybuilders. The first thing I looked up, because my doctor that actually cared about me, you know, there's doctors that just prescribe you pills and there's other doctors that actually tell you, hey, you're fat, you got to stop doing this. We were looking at my numbers and he's like, look, carbohydrates in your body don't work that well. You got to look for low carb. Yeah. So I was looking up like ketogenic bodybuilders. I ran across Keto Savage, Robert Sykes. I love him. Great friend of mine. And all the people, and I came across your channel and I was like, would you like to come on board? You didn't know me from Adam. And this is the 3rd time you've been on the show. And every time I learned something new. And every time it like reignites a fire I didn't even realize I needed reigniting. So I just want to put that out there, that it's always such a pleasure, man. I really hope our paths meet in real life. And I'll break my day. I'll break my promise and have whiskey with you that one day at least, or something along those lines. You know, but you know, it's so true, folks. When it boils down to, you know, people sit there and look at addictions like you know, drug addictions, porn addictions. And I hate to admit it, but that was a big problem for me for a long time, but I haven't looked at that stuff in years now, but that was a big problem. You got porn addiction, you got drug addiction, you got alcohol addiction, you got food addiction and all this other stuff. And the reason why there's like billions of people on this planet is because we're not meant to go on this life alone. All right. And sometimes you need that person that is like your AA sponsor. And there's literally no reason to be ashamed, because we all have, everyone's got their vices. And I still pay my money, even though I know I'm supposed to do. I know I'm supposed to eat these many calories. I know I'm supposed to hit this protein profile and everything else. And I know what advice to give to my clients, to give it to them. But I still have a coach to make sure I'm staying on the straight and narrow. And then the days that I'm wanting to really gorge on something, I'm like, all right, Rob, talk me off the ledge, because I really want this wedding cake that I'm at this wedding right now. And it's like, well, Chris, you know, you could, but you have a contest in 3 weeks. Do you really want to get second place again because of a bad choice, not because the guy who showed up better than you showed up better than you? Okay. Good point made. So now we've gone over the diet, we've gone over the high intensity training and everything else. So from a man's perspective, all right, we're talking, I mean, look, I'm not trying to discount the women out there, but you and I might not necessarily have enough expertise to talk about things that can, you know, help them. I definitely don't. Characteristics that men should build upon to have a more fulfilling life. Where do you go with that?
Characteristics to have a more fulfilling life. Yeah. Okay. Number one is everyone's got a gift, whether they know it or not. Everyone's got a gift. So number one is share your gift. And some of you need to find that gift, whatever it might be. That's number one. Number two is become more selfless and share, contribute. Make it an effort to contribute to other people. I know that ever since I started doing that, I remember going to work every Monday going, I don't want to be here at school. I was a good teacher. Kids liked me, but it was the moment I said, I'm going to impact one kid's life today. I don't know who it is. I don't know how, but that's my goal today. And I looked for opportunities. The moment I looked for opportunities, my day was so much more fulfilling. I remember during a staff meeting, one guy says, Tom, you're the guy who says hi to every single kid, whether you teach them or not. Everybody loves you. You're like a rock star in school. And I'm like, you know what my secret is? I look to put a smile on people's faces and I look to bring out the best in them. I'm looking for opportunities. It's not just another day. I'm actually looking for opportunities. That's another thing. And then the next thing is creating those highlights throughout the day. Creating those highlights, because here's what I do know. Most people's days are pretty mundane. They're pretty boring. But if I can take my body or a skill like learning a language or playing the guitar or playing the drums or learning jujitsu or something, and every day get a little bit better, where am I going to be in 5 years? Chris, it's astonishing. In 5 years, I will be a purple belt or a brown belt. And there's something Zen-like about jujitsu that it's so rewarding. You're kind of like, shoot, man, you know what? I feel in tune with myself. You know why? Because I went to those classes 3 times a week. Right. And I think learning a language, same thing. After 3 years, I should be fluent in Spanish if I put the effort in. Where I live, it's pretty important.
Yeah.
Right. You can learn an instrument. Like now I'm fulfilled. I'm fulfilled with things that are meaningful to me. So how do you take it to the next level as a man? That's how you do it. Now you want to get into spiritual stuff. It's having that relationship with God, which some people want to go there. Some people don't want to go there. That's another big part. That's maybe for another podcast.
Sure. Yeah, no, I mean, as much as I do like to talk about my faith, yeah, I mean, we'd be here for like 3 hours if we went there. So,
yeah.
But yeah, I totally get that. I get, so, it's like when you're trying to share more of yourself, something that I also want to say that I want to compliment you on, folks. Yeah, Tom also authored a book, The Ultimate Man's Playbook. All right. And one of the first things I read that really stuck with me a lot is dress up for when you're going out into the world. Okay. COVID is, and I'm not, I know just saying the word COVID just jumped this algorithm down to where I'll get like 4 views in 6 years. But during the shutdown, a lot of people were working from home, and a lot of us, look, when I was working from home, I wasn't about to get dressed up on the computer. I was in my sweatpants and a t-shirt or jammies throughout the day or whatever. But then that carried over, and I'm going out to the grocery store in flip-flops, sweats, and a ratty ass t-shirt or something like that. And only reason why I shave is because I can never grow a full enough beard. I just looked like, George Michael, and that was about as far as it would go. So I would take it down. But ever since reading that, on any given day that I'm going to be out into the world, I mean, if I'm at home doing some chores around the house, I'm not going to do that. But I make sure that I definitely give myself a nice clean shave. I put on something nice, even though everyone else in my workplace might be just wearing a t-shirt and jeans, because that's an acceptable uniform at the office, or a mode of dress. And I think that is something that men really should take. It's like, take the extra pride in yourself to look good. You look good, you feel good. You know what I mean? And trust me, guys, you don't got to spend a lot of money to wear. You can go to a thrift shop and get nicer looking clothes than what might be a little bit more expensive at the department stores. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's just amazing, guys. I'll put a link in the description on that as well. Last but not least, Tom, where can people find you in the interwebs and get a hold of you?
Oh man, I don't even know my links anymore. It's so automatic. Shoot, man, I don't know. YouTube, you can find me at Tom Kiatipis. So if you look that up and you know how to spell it, that's one place you can find me. TikTok, I think it's at Tom Kiat.
Right.
That's a popular place to find me, or you can just email me, coachtomkiat@gmail.com. That's another place. Just, what you do a YouTube search and you're going to find all my links. And that's usually how people find me. And then I get contacted, right?
Yep. For sure. Well, I'll make sure to put all those links down in the description. I don't want to hold you up from your jujitsu. I got to get back into that. I loved it for so damn long. I got to ask you though, who's under which? Are you under one of the Gracies, or which? Who's like the master?
Yeah. I got to tell you, we're so close up in that lineage. There's the Gracie family, and then below that, I believe, is the Machados.
Yes.
And below that, there's Renato Magna.
Okay.
Magno out of California. He's really, really good. And underneath him is my guy, Brian Carnes. So from the top, it's like 4 down. Our lineage is strong. So this is Gracie Jiu-Jitsu that we learn tonight. And it's old school badass jiu-jitsu.
Outstanding. It was many years ago. My guy was Hey Diogo, who was under Carlson Gracie. And then, well, Hey Diogo was Martin Escobar's guy. And that's where I was doing it over in Tucson, Arizona. And yeah, I mean, screw it. I just, you know what? When you say if you want the time to do it, you're going to make the time to do it. So I might piss off my wife, so I might have to wait a little bit longer to find the time to get that back into that. But it's just so amazing. It's probably bodybuilding is more fun for me, but jiu-jitsu is a damn close second. But all right,
that's
Tom,
very cool.
Thank you so much. God bless you, and you're welcome any day of the week on this show. Thank you.
Yeah, let's do it again for sure, man.
Sounds good, brother. Thanks.
All right, cheers.
Cheers.